Good afternoon, everyone. Hope we had a wonderful sessions. And to just give a brief to the panelists, before you are reaching, we had a couple of speakers who spoke, and everyone given an importance that the compliance is everything. If there is no compliance, there is no business. And the crowd here, the DNFBP sector, they are witness that we cannot survive without compliance. Now, to just take a step back, when Mr. Vitras was saying, the money launderers were interested in financial institutions to clean their dirt. But now, since we became little stricter and stringent, now they changed their way. They navigated towards the DNFBP sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mahammad Ansar. By profession, I am a financial crime compliance specialist, and I will be the moderator for the day, and I will be discussing the very timely and critical theme for the day, from rules to reality, where adopting to dynamic regulatory expectations. The UAE has taken a stringent steps to strengthen its AML compliance framework, and especially when it comes to the DNFBP sectors, which includes gold and jewelry traders, real estate, auditors, and lawyers. Today, we are joined by an esteemed group of regulators and industry leaders who bring both policy and practical perspectives. Together, we will explore how rules are being translated into reality, what challenges remain, and how collaboration can drive a stronger compliance culture. To address that, or having understanding of all these, I start with my neighbor, Mr. Hassan. DEP plays a central role in supervising DNFBPs. To start us off, could you give us a snapshot on DNFBP regulations, both globally and here in the UAE, and how the UAE positioned itself within that framework?
Thank you, Mr. Ansar. Yeah, globally, the DNFBPs, the designated non-financial business and professionals. Can you hear me? Like this? Yeah, globally, the DNFBP is not a new concept. It is back to 2003 when FATF revision included in the 40 recommendations that it's required the DNFBP to have a risk-based supervision. And this one, the DNFBP as a concept, then during 2012, it's been reinforced and it become like an obligation for each DNFBP to have obligations like, for example, CDD, EDD, compliance sanctions, and all of those requirements for AML. In UAE, we started in 2018. 2018, when the foundation of the decree law, federal decree law number 20, 2018, that was the foundation of all our regulations. And each and every page in the decree law, it's mentioned that DNFBP requires, financial institution requires. Okay, that is emphasizing on the importance of the DNFBP to start fighting the money laundering. So it is more to be like the financial institution. Earlier, the financial institutions were targeted by criminals. Later on, they start to targeting the designated non-financial professions as well. That is also beside also to trade-based also money laundering.
Thank you. That is very important for us to know the decree, the law, and what regulation says. Especially around the awareness and reporting. Building on that, let's move to the free zone sector. Free zones, of course, face similar challenges, but also attract global businesses. Mr. Mr. Ahmadiyya, my questions to you is that free zone attract global business. How do you balance ease of doing business with strict AML compliance?
Yeah. It's on. Hello?
Not on. Better to use this. You pass that to me.
Yeah. In the free zones, we are making sure that we balance between the ease of doing business with the regulation of the country. And in Rakas specifically, as it is common known that normally free zones are globally attracting businesses more than the mainlands, because you know how is the nature of the free zones. So we started in Rakas by embedding our compliance journey within our business process, within our from the starting, within our KYC, within our the onboarding processes and the procedures. So the compliance and all of the related tasks related to the compliance, it is part of the onboarding journey. Once the client will come and he want to register a company with Rakas, then the checking and all of these will be started to ease the things of doing business even in the free zones. And I believe it is known now, especially after the FATF visit with our regulatory and our heads, like following up with the regulations and with enhancing the sector. So all of us, I believe we are doing the same, where the onboarding journey will be starting, then we will reach the point of the compliance check within the KYC, the onboarding, all of the steps that will needed to be taken by the clients or by the company. And then reaching to the final stage where the client will be getting their license. But even within that, we are making sure that we are enhancing and giving the clients the needed awareness as long as they are deciding to register as the DNFBPs. We are communicating with them normally the new rules, the new regulations. If there are any FATF updates, we are making sure that at least we are performing 1 or 2 webinars or seminars for our client to enhance also the awareness. We are circulating to them any new cabinet decisions as per the country regulation and whatever is received from our Ministry of Economy. So this is how we are trying to make sure that their journey is easy and it is understandable for them, and the business is back to us as Rakas is easy and in the correct way. So this is how we are maintaining it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmadiyya. It's understanding that doing the business, having the compliance controls, or understanding the compliance requirement is very easy to do a business and no need to find it much difficult. So in RAC zone or economic zone, we understand that if we are ready to do a clean business, we are most welcome there.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So thank you, Ms. Ahmadiyya. Let's break the chain. Before I'm going to gold and jewelry, let me start with the bullion. Let's now hear from the bullion sector, which has often been highlighted as high risk in terms of trade-based financial crime. As a senior industry leader, Mr. Aditya, how do you balance regulatory compliance with smooth business operations in such a fast-moving gold market?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, when you talk about balance, it is not one or the other. We see compliance as an integral part of running our business. When we say KYC is not just about going through a checklist of documents, collecting them and keeping them for your records. KYC literally means know your customer. So literally, as Mr. Das was mentioning earlier, it's about going deep into the subject and literally knowing what exactly your customer, or for that matter your supplier, is doing. From an execution standpoint, you always keep the compliance function separate from any commercial activity. But having said that, the responsibility of compliance needs to start from every single person, irrespective of his or her position in the organization, and probably ends with the compliance officer and the leadership. So as long as compliance is less of a talent, compliance is more of an attitude. And any cost, if I may put it that way, which is incurred by the company on compliance is something which will reap benefits. So it protects you against reputational risks. It protects you against any kind of fines that may come your way if you don't follow the required procedures. So it's very, very vital that we see compliance as part of business, so that you do business, grow your business with the right people, with the right transactions, more than anything else. If you work from that perspective and look at compliance as an investment, I think we'll all do well. And it starts with, as I said, with the leadership and has to percolate down to every person in the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya. So we understood that the compliance is integral. If business is a body, compliance gives the oxygen to it. It's not that I be a compliance professional and saying it's accepted by the business, because without compliance, I don't think we can survive further. And understanding that, so compliance is not just about individual companies, but about the collective industry culture. That brings me to Ms. Mamta. How can industry associations like BGKG support their members in building stronger compliance cultures?
I think better you use this thing. Stress it.
Good afternoon, everyone. So the AML CFT federal regulation came out in the year 2018. However, we were asked to follow it in its entirety. We were forced to follow in the year 2021, immediately after we settled in with the pandemic. So we as an industry body, when the regulations came up, we focused on building the culture of compliance and started with training and awareness. In our experience, most of the times, it's lack of awareness that leads to not detecting crime at the right time. And we focused on training and awareness building, and secondly, we focused on capacity building. We trained over 5,000 professionals in our industry, and that has directly reflected in the way our segment, our industry has progressed. Like Mr. Vijush mentioned earlier, we have come a long way. During the National Risk Assessment, the Ministry of Economy and the regulators noted that we have reduced our risk profile to a significant level. I think a lot of it goes into the training and development of the sector. We now can proudly say that we work with regular, a lot of training academies like Crowe and Crowe Academy and several others to build this particular, our focus has always been training, and now more will be so because now we are out of the grey list, but sustaining that position is even more difficult. Because in 2026, when FATF is going to do their second round of mutual evaluation, no cosmetic changes is going to be taken into account. They will go really deep into it, and the training that is given to each and every employee of the sector has really helped us. And the other approach that we have taken is that we work like an information center for the industry. So every small, medium and large player can approach the group, the jewelry association, and get every information that they require. And they can clarify the questions and concerns with a phone call or an email. It is that simple. So we simplify a lot of complex regulations for the industry, and we make it easier for them to adapt to the regulatory landscape.
Great. The key takeaway here is that the training. Train the employees since their inception until their resignations. And I always say in my financial institution that we honor compliance officers. And we have been given or resigned to someone else. The main compliance officer will be driving the business, and other compliance officer is attending the customers. So we honor by default compliance officer. In the same way, when we are training the employees, definitely we can further bring the risk rating to the below medium. And now, when I was discussing with Mr. Hassan, you often stress that regulations doesn't happen in isolation. So my question here is to you that what are the ecosystem features collaboration between UAE regulators and industry that you see as the most important for building a strong compliance culture?
Yes, collaboration here is a key for the compliance, to be a successful compliance. Now, at the highest level of UAE, let's start from the higher committee of anti-money laundering, which is headed by His Highness Sheikh Abdullah Ansar. That committee is responsible for pushing the strategy and supervising the strategy of UAE for anti-money laundering and combating terrorist financing. After that, there are several government entities hired, like, for example, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Justice, FIU, Financial Intelligence Unit, CBUAE, Central Bank of UAE. So all those entities are reporting directly to the higher committee. Now, below that, we have subcommittees. Those subcommittees ensure that day-to-day implementation of the FATF requirements are happening within our zone, within our house. Okay, for example, for DEDs. We have to set our systems, we have to align our onboarding process, we have to have risk rating for each customer, we have to have screening. So all of this is being monitored by the higher committee of anti-money laundering. Now, we are meeting, sometimes we meet every week once, and those meetings can go up to 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes we meet on regular basis, like in each month once. It depends on the time. But in general, we are collaborating all the entities, government entities. In UAE, they are collaborating all together. I do collaborate, for example, at my level, we do collaborate with the police, with the CBUAE, with the FIU, on daily basis sometimes. So this ecosystem is creating that we are making sure that we as a regulator also understand the requirements before we push it to the market. Now, when it's come to the industry, it's a bit differently. And we make sure that we connect also with the industry. Not only the NVPs, even, for example, SMEs, like, for example, restaurants, groceries, other type of businesses, commercial businesses. So we are connected with all those entities or commercial businesses to ensure that we are all working together.
Thank you. This focus on the collaboration is critical. So, Ms. Ahmed, let me ask you, how can DNFBP bridge the gap between theoretical and rules and practical implementation in fast-changing environment today?
So my answer to this question would be is that normally DNFBPs should take the regulations, understand it, and then try to simplify it and take it in a more practical way. Extract from it the procedures that they will be embedding in their day-to-day work, or putting some of it in their policies, procedures, and whatever, making a checklist. They can even making some decision matrix out of these regulations and rules. And this way we will try as much as we can to break this gap between the taking the regulation and how we are adhering to the regulation, and even how we are working toward achieving these regulations. Additionally, from RACA's perspective, as I said previously, we are trying to help our DNFBPs as much as possible by conveying any regulation that we will be receiving from the Ministry of Economy and send it to all of our DNFBPs. Any training opportunities, any webinar that is being done from our regulators' point of view, we are circulating it to our DNFBPs. In addition to any updates, even the changes in our regulation ourselves, we will be circulating it to our DNFBPs. We need to make sure that they understand the full regulation. They have a risk-based approach that they are embedding in their daily processes and procedure, and the most important is that they understand it. Because without the part of awareness, same as Mamta said also, continuous training of our DNFBPs. We are trying as much as possible, even if I know that sometimes we will not be able to do continuous training to our clients, but we are trying at least whenever there is a new regulation that we are doing, for example, one webinar for our client for their understanding. We have done last year a webinar to understand, to aware them about the ultimate beneficial owner regulation, and again we have done one this year to make them understand about our Cabinet Decision 109 inspection approach, because it is mainly related to the ultimate beneficial owner, how they are maintaining their register, shareholder register and the company registry, so that they are avoiding the penalties that it might come to them based on the Cabinet Decision 132. And also we are trying to make it easy with them. We are also conducting the DNFBP's inspection as instructed by the Ministry of Economy. But again, the whole session, even if sometimes it might take 1 hour or more, but we are trying to make it an understandable session so that we make sure that they understand the exact part, because we know that the requirement from the DNFBPs are much more and much higher than any other sectors. So they need to understand how they risk rate their client. They need to understand how to report suspicious activity. They need to understand the threshold of their cash transaction. They need to understand the importance of having a bank account. By having the correct policies embedded within them, and by having the procedure that they will be working out based on it, and all of this is extracted from the country regulation, they will be in the safe side, and this gap between the knowing and doing will be reduced, and then they will be doing their business in a best way possible.
Thank you, Hassan. It was so detailed. And we understood that knowing is not just important, how we do it, that makes a difference. Now, understanding this, let me ask Ms. Mamta to you is that, how does DGG group work with regulators, that is DED, MOE or free zones, to advocate for practical and business-friendly AML compliance?
As an industry body, we are often consulted by most of the regulators before coming out with the regulations. Number one, the leadership of UAE is always willing to listen to the private sector. This is a big advantage that the businesses have in UAE. We are a permanent member in the Private-Public Partnership Committee with the Executive Office, and we are in touch with most of the regulators before the regulation actually even comes out. So this helps us in relaying our actual concerns and the practical problems of certain regulations and certain clauses in the regulations. So the regulators are well aware of it in advance. That is one way of us executing our advocacy role. And secondly, we work between the private sector and the regulators in conveying the problems that the sector is facing while implementing the regulations and the gaps we see in certain areas. So such issues are flagged to the regulators in real time. So we are in constant communication with most of the regulators, so they know exactly what are the challenges. Therefore, it helps them in coming out with outreach sessions, training sessions, and certain leverages while implementing the regulations in its totality. Thirdly, the regulators rely on industry associations such as ourselves in conveying the correct kind of implementation mechanism within the industry. So we are given toolkits, we are given materials which is distributed to the private sector in a very efficient manner. If the regulator is trying to reach out to each and every businesses within UAE, it is going to be extremely tough. So they depend on industry bodies such as ourselves. That we have better reach to individual small and medium scale businesses. So that way we contribute to implementing such regulations in a more efficient way. We work very closely with the regulators that way.
Great to know that you as the group helping regulators as well at the same time the business to do a good business and how to do a right business at the right time. Now my ask is to Mr. Aditya, from your experience, what are the major risks gold and bullion companies face in terms of money laundering and credit-based financial crime?
Just before I answer that question, I just want to add something to the role that the Dubai Gold and Jewelry Group plays. The one thing I think they've been very, very successful at is, see, the big companies will always get their act together. They have the resources. It's the individual, smaller, the bullion dealers in the gullies, the jewelers in the gullies who allow a one-off shop. They're the ones who really need a helping hand more than larger organizations. And the Dubai Gold and Jewelry Group has been very successful in lending that assistance to those companies. So kudos to Mamta and the Gold and Jewelry Group on that. So getting back to your question, see, we are in an industry, we are in a product where there is a natural exposure to the risks of money laundering. So a bar of gold today is, a kilo bar of gold today is worth current price close to 500,000 dirhams, right? So it's very easy for someone to take that bar of gold. There are avenues in which you can buy it in cash even today. Buy it in cash, easy to store, easy to transport, and it can easily be kept out of the eyes of the officials, unlike real estate, for instance, or a piece of art, for instance. So that inherent risk is always there. So it's about the controls that we put in place in order to mitigate that. first step to that is awareness. Today I can say that if I look back to where we were 5 years back, definitely the awareness is a lot higher. Secondly, most companies today have in place very, very good level of checks and balances across the board. And we have to also, the other thing which has happened in the industry, it's good for people who've invested in gold, is that gold price has really soared, right? Gold price about a year back was about, gold was about 30 to 40% cheaper a year back. So today you can literally go to a shop, buy 100 gram of gold, which is very normal, 100 gram bar of gold or jewelry worth 100 grams of gold. Pay in cash 46 to 50,000 dirhams and you walk away. And the nature of the industry is also such that it gives you avenues for smurfing. Smurfing is the breaking up of larger transactions into smaller ones, right? It gives avenues for that. So being very aware of that, training frontline workers, whether in retail or B2B operations, to kind of sniff those risks is very, very vital. And of course, very, very importantly, reporting all of that to the relevant authorities. I think if you complete that circle, it's something we've done very, very well, and you've complied with most regulations that you need to.
Thank you. As agreed, Simi is not serious. I need another question. Because otherwise I think I will be incomplete. I'll ask one question to the regulators. Yeah. And because it's often mentioned today, since morning in the sessions from Mr. Vinda was mentioned, in fact, the understanding of AML obligations. So now, my one last question to Mr. Hassan is that you mentioned that the key challenge for the DNFBP is fully understanding their AML obligations. How does BEP ensure that licensed businesses from SMEs to large companies are aware of and implementing these regulations?
Yeah, this is again a key question here. Now, when we are talking about how we push and we make sure that those obligations are met, apart from the normal things like, for example, webinars, training, one-to-one meetings, I will keep them aside. We are using three main layers. Number one is that we embedded the regulation into our onboarding processes, where during the registration or renewal or changes, there will be, for example, a UBO regulations, UBO declaration, AML declaration, acknowledgements, sanction declaration. So all of those will be embedded in our processes, which is our main. The second will be the risk-based supervision, where we do inspection for the whole sector, not only the DNFBP, everybody. The third will be is that how we are doing the remediation part. For example, and this is the crucial here, we will do an inspection and we will find some requirement or some requirement for compliance and not been met yet from a DNFBP. For example, a DNFBP that they don't have a screening system, or they do have a screening system but they are not using it. So we will give a remediation. Okay, a remediation plan or action plan that within a month, 3, 2, it depends on the case, that to remediate that shortcoming. If that did not work and we revisit them after 1 month, let's say, and they did not do their application, we will give them a warning, a formal warning. After the formal warning, they will be, and if there's a serious breach of the laws and regulation, we have only one way to do that is that to push for the penalties. So we don't push for penalties direct from the first day one. We will educate and make the DNFBPs or any commercial license aware of their obligation, and then we will work with them to cover their obligation. If that did not happen for those two, We will go then to the enforcement, which is penalties and fines, and sometimes it might go to revoking the license or whatever, depending on the case. Let's also distinguish between two kinds of inspection. There are two kinds of inspection. Inspection for DNFBP to meet their obligation to fight for anti-money laundering. And the second inspection is that on the license itself for them, for how they are conducting their business. So there are two different types of inspection. The first one, which is the DNFBP inspection, we call it is usually joined with the Ministry of Economy. We send the requirements before that, a questionnaire before meeting them. We make sure that they understand what we are going to when we are going to visit them or to do the inspection. We make sure that they understand why we are coming. So there are two kinds of inspection. The DNFBP, especially for the anti-money laundering, and there's a commercial inspection that is on the entity itself.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan, for detailed explanation. On behalf of audience and industry leaders, I have one simple question to RAC economic zone. Ms. Khaimah, how do you encourage companies in RAC economic zone to keep compliance not as a burden? Compliance is not as a burden, but as a business enabler.
I know that all of the companies or all of the clients are seeing compliance as a burden. It's like a headache. So, and we are trying to remove this idea from them and explain to them. The most important thing is building the trust between us and the companies that we are dealing with, or with the businesses that we are dealing with, specifically the DNFBPs. I said that previously that the sector itself is hard with the regulation that they have to embed and all of the things that they have to build and themselves and their companies. So by helping them to understand it and to concentrate on the fact that the regulations, the AML, CFT laws and regulations are to safeguarding the companies, to help them understand it, trust it, and it is there to help you be the best. So that if you will be in the safe side, the country will be in the safe side, the country that you are doing your business in it. And this is all will come back through understanding the regulations, understanding what are your obligations and what are the requirements that you have to embed in your systems. You have to have a policy, procedure, your compliance officer or a third-party compliance officer or whatever, but you need to understand it, and by understanding it, you will be in the safe side. They have to understand that when to raise a suspicious activity report. Through RACES, as I said, we are trying our level best to circulate all of the regulations, rules, requirements. If there are any webinar invitations, training invitations, so that the awareness will be raised, and even within the first stage, when any DNFBP will be registered with RACES, we will be informing them even about the GoAML and its registration requirement, so that at least with a time frame of 1 year, they will need to register to the GoAML system with FIU, so that also the ministry and FIU will not enforce fines or penalties against them. And the most important is not only registering with GoAML, it is knowing why do I need to do it, what should I do after registering, how to monitor my transactions, and going back to the embedding a risk-based approach and how to risk rate your clients. So by understanding all of this, we will go to the final point, which is I am safe, I am doing my business in a clean way. If I will notice any suspicious activity, I will raise it so that I am safe, I am clean, and I am even safeguarding myself in the country, so we are on the safe side. This is it.
Thank you so much. And Simi started changing her face and staring at me.
Never. I was looking at the way all of you were speaking, so impressed because you know the field, you guys are expertise in it. So I was also listening, even though I'm a baby and understanding all this as per my brain, I'm saying, not like how others are, but I was seriously looking in a very nice way, not in other ways. Anyway, yeah.
Before that, thank you. Don't worry, you join us for another 2 to 3 sessions. We will make you expert in compliance.
Wow, I'm
we want. And thank you everyone.